What's up? This is Derek Brown of the Carolina Panthers. Shout out to Rashad and David of the Panther Nation podcast. The voice of the Panther Nation. Make sure y'all like them and subscribe. Keep pounding.
Yo, this is Panther legend Jonathan Stewart, and I just wanted to shout out to Rashad Beard and David Rhodes of Panther Nation podcast. The voice of the Panther Nation. Keep pounding.
You are now tuned into the Panther Nation podcast.
Delone fires to an open Smith. Steve Smith is going to go all the way. No flag foul. Smith scores, and the Carolina Panthers win in overtime.
Seal gives the drive. He's intercepted by Keekly. Keekly inside the 20 to the 10 and to the end zone for another Panthers.
Welcome to the Panther Nation podcast. And here are your hosts, Rashad Beard and David Rhodes.
Yo, what's good, everybody? What's poppin'? Dave, what's good with you, broski?
Crazy, man. Crazy. Crazy.
It's a lot going on in the world right now. The past 24 hours has been
not
pretty
the world.
Crazy. Well, in the states, yes. The past 24 hours have been pretty crazy.
And your old stomping grounds, bro.
Yeah, DC, man. DC is lit right now. But here we here to take you away from all that for an hour or so, and get into some of this Panther content. First of all, we got to introduce everybody. What's good? First of all, I go in order. Hector, what's up, man? Got your phone back? You ready? Hector,
Yeah.
my man. How you been, bro?
Good, how about you?
All is well here. Eddie, what's good with you, broski?
Hey, how's it going, fellas?
What's going on, sir?
Never misses his own coverage, man. Shout out to Eddie. And JJ, welcome back, sir. Welcome. What's good with you?
What's up with y'all, man? Blessed to be here. Happy to be back in the room with y'all.
Absolutely. Welcome back. And we got the creator, Kevin Brown. What's good, brother?
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, it's good to be here, man. I'm looking forward to this discussion.
Absolutely. Some good content I'm about to bless y'all with, man. I'm telling y'all right now, you're not getting this nowhere else. This is A1 level content right here. We about to deep dive into the general managers and give our recommendation, and everybody's going to have pretty much a say into what these general managers, who's the best general manager, who's the best choice for the Carolina Panthers moving forward. There's a lot going on, a lot of movement. There's about four other teams now looking for general managers, and we are in the mix. It's weird things are happening with the Panthers right now. It's a lot of weird things. At first, we got to start with Jake Peetz. Just real quick, Jake Peetz ended up getting hired by the LSU Tigers. We stole one from them. They got one back, and the one we stole about to leave us. This is a full circle of madness, bro. Jake Peetz, he was our running backs coach the year prior. Then he's the quarterback coach. Came from Alabama in 2018. He was I forgot what he was at Alabama, but he's now the offensive coordinator for LSU. He got the hell out of Dodge. And anybody want to share any comments around Jake Peetz before we get into some good data?
I think people thought that this guy would have been the one to take over as the OC if Joe Brady would have left. Well, now it looks like this guy won't, and Brady still might be out the door.
I'll say this, Rashad. I know that Jake Peetz had the history at Alabama. I think Nick Saban brought him in to kind of work with their RPO program, a system he wanted to incorporate the RPO down there right before they, while they had Jalen Hurts, and I think they transitioned to Tua. But a lot of the things that they did, with those quarterbacks was because of Jake Peetz and what he brought, to Alabama. And so when he came to Carolina, he was the running backs coach, but I know that one of the appeals of having us quarterbacks coach was because I think Joe Brady's offense incorporated a lot of RPO, and they thought that he could enhance that. But it was always a curious match for me when we decided to go with Teddy Bridgewater. And I know that Teddy can run the RPO offense, but to me, he's not an RPO weapon. You know what I mean? Like in terms of his, although we saw he can run, he had the mobility. So I always thought, it was a curious match. But, obviously he's respected around the league. But I think, what Dave said, I believe, we thought that he may be the obvious candidate to take over for Joe Brady if Joe Brady left. So if Joe Brady gets hired somewhere, I actually think this could be an interesting situation going forward because, we're in a situation where we could draft a QB. And so the offense for the Carolina Panthers could look totally different this year.
Yeah, which is that's the nightmare scenario, and which I posted on Twitter. And listen, I told y'all called me out when I'm wrong, but y'all got to give me some credit when I'm right. I told y'all when we hired Joe Brady, this was going to happen. I told y'all when we hired Joe Brady, this exact scenario was going to happen. If things were good, he was going to take off. Even if it's not this year, even if it's next year, it puts us in a worse situation next year if he leaves and we draft a quarterback. It puts us in a really bad scenario because then you're bringing in another offensive coordinator.
One of the biggest reasons why I have no interest of us drafting a quarterback is because of the fact that Brady's not going to be here to groom the guy. And then I've already talked about my theory about where Brady's at and how Brady got there. Like I said, Brady leaving is going to give us an idea of who's hiring the offensive coordinator. Because I'm questioning if it's the coach.
Dave has said that several times. Go ahead, Jason.
For you, number one is at this point with him gone. They talk about I think the running backs coach being promoted to OC. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, okay. He was the offensive assistant. I think that's Nixon, if I want to say. I forgot his first name, but he was the offensive assistant to Joe Brady. Go ahead.
Okay. Would you rather just let Brady walk this year and rebuild the offensive staff, or have Brady back next year?
I want Brady gone as soon as possible.
Me too.
I want him out of here.
Get him out of here, man.
I want somebody to hire him.
The longer we keep him, we're just delaying it inevitable. Let us go ahead and get our guy that's going to be around for a while, and let him go. Because especially if we draft a quarterback. If we draft a quarterback this year, you're asking a rookie quarterback to learn two different systems. It delays the process. He needs to get out of here.
And I
agree. And I'll say this though, obviously we have some concerns with the staffing and such like that, but to temper some of those concerns, the best thing is Matt Rule is a college guy, so college coaches are always looking out for the next job. College staffs have way more turnover than NFL staffs.
Yeah.
Way more. Because especially when you're at a school like Temple and then you're at a school like Baylor, that's not Bama, that's not Clemson, that's not Ohio State, that's not Texas, that's not USC. Like those guys that's a stepping stone job. They're always trying to get to something bigger. So I'm sure Rule is very fluid in having a list of names of guys he can call on and be like, hey, come on, I'll give you an offensive coordinator, I'll let you bring in a quarterback coach. So if you have any concerns with staff adjustments, I think Rule, if anything, his time in college should help temper some of those concerns because his staff did so much.
I just want the best guys, point. Man.
Yeah, can I add this?
He took the words out of my mouth. I was gonna say the exact same kind of thing, but I think what's most important here is that I honestly don't care if Brady stays or leaves. I like the offense in general. Yeah, we'd like to see the tight ends involved more and stuff like that. Whatever. Whether we draft a QB this year or draft a QB next year, regardless, I want to see an identity. So I want Tennessee has an identity. They're run first, play action. Right. Pittsburgh, they're very spread. I want an identity in Carolina that is our offense. So regardless of what coordinator you bring in, they buy into that identity, and they might have a new language, they might have new plays, but it's the same identity, and I feel like that's what's important. I don't want to go to a Tennessee style offense next year and start running with a fullback. So as long as Matt Rule maintains the culture and the identity of the team, I'm all for it.
But let me ask this question. We're talking about identity. We're talking about potential turnover at the offense coordinator position. One of the concerns I have is when you hire a coach like Matt Rule, who's a guy who is kind of balanced. He knows a little bit about offense and knows a little bit about defense. Will we not get ourselves in a situation that if we let Joe Brady go and then we bring in another offensive coordinator from the college ranks and then, he shows to be some type of savant, then he put away, in a year or two. I don't know, first of all, if any new offensive coordinator is going to come in and say, hey, look, just give me Joe Brady's playbook and let me run that. So they're going to want their own identity because they're going to want to make a name for themselves. Because this, too, is going to be a stepping stone opportunity for them. When you look around the league at the best teams now, each one of the head coaches has an identity, or has an ability to coach one side of the ball. Either they're offensive guy, which is, more likely the case.
The right way to go.
Or they're a defensive guy. And I was a person, ahead of the coaching search last year who really didn't want an offensive guy. I'm a more defensive-minded person, but somebody, one of our Twitter followers, said, "Hey, look, man, you really got to go offensive because you don't want any loss of continuity, from year to year with your quarterback and with the system." And so now I have even more concerns about, even though I like Matt Rule, I have more concerns about the way that we're structured for sustained success if we're going to have a revolving door at the coordinator position.
There is a way to fix that.
Okay.
You go hire someone who's previously been a head coach who is on the offensive side of the ball.
Anthony Lynn?
Huh?
Anthony Lynn?
Is he offensive guy or he's a defensive guy?
Yeah. It's a running backs guy.
No, he's offensive guy.
Oh, okay.
Offensive guy.
Yeah, so you go hire a head coach who has some experience on the offensive side of the ball, who may not have another opportunity at a head coaching position.
Anthony Lynn.
Go ahead, Hector.
I'm just worried that if people are saying we're going to draft Kyle Pitts, a lot of people are saying that. I'm just worried if Joe Brady is here while we have Kyle Pitts, we're just going to be wasting talent. We don't use tight ends.
Well, we talked about that. We talked about that earlier with the tight ends. We don't know whether Joe Brady has the guy he wants at tight end. Because we know he knows how to use him. We just don't know if he has the guy that he wants to utilize. So. But yeah, go ahead and finish your statement, Hector. My fault, I cut you off.
If we're gonna draft someone, I would rather do it with another head coach that has more that's gonna stay long term, to build a team around what he's gonna do, and not what another coach was doing, and it's not gonna fit.
Yeah. So I think you meant offensive coordinator. Go ahead, Kev.
Yeah,
my fault. Let me jump here real quick. I want to limit this to 2 more minutes because we got to move on. But go ahead, Kev.
Yeah, sounds good. Now I was gonna say, I'm okay with hiring another head coach who has offensive minded, but generally those head coaches go on and they take other head coaching jobs later once they do prove themselves. I would rather have someone like a Byron Leftwich. Now he's in Tampa Bay, he's doing his thing, but I want that kind of guy. That guy, like Byron Leftwich, is a great offensive coordinator. Look what he's doing with Tom Brady in Tampa Bay right now. For a guy who I think it's his second year as an OC, he's doing great. He's not up for any head coaching jobs. He's going to be in Tampa for the next 2 or 3, 4 years, depending on their success. I feel like you need to kind of promote from the bottom. If you bring guys down from the top, now you may have conflicting ideologies. You may have some egos. And you may have guys willing to jump the ship more. I feel like we need to promote from the bottom up, is what I think.
Yeah, but even when you do that, you're still gonna cycle guys, right? You're still gonna continue to cycle through cats. I mean, we saw it with our own organization, right? Who did we start with? on the offensive side.
I think
Yeah. You start with you see McDermott, right? We did it with McDermott. He got hired. We tried to go with promoting from within, and it never worked out. Like the defense never was. We never could get back to the original coach. So we should have.
People don't understand how many DCs we hired, how many coordinators Rivera had that hired. He had Chazinski that got hired. He had freaking McDermott. He had Wilkes. Like, he had a lot of folks that got hired under his tenure here at Carolina.
And then they all go up to get head coaching jobs, and they fail too. You know what I'm saying? So
not all of them.
Go ahead. Go ahead. We got a couple more minutes.
Yeah, I was saying success, bodes opportunity for these guys. So if you bring in a guy, if you have any kind of success, you don't even have to have a winning season, but just if the offense is like top 10 or something, like it's like, oh my God, this guy might be the next genius. And the younger they are, the more lucrative they are. I think I'm more surprised that, I can't blame him, but, that Joe Brady isn't a little bit more self-aware, of where he is and wanting to prove himself a little bit more before he starts going out and seeking opportunities. Kind of like the defensive coordinator for the Giants. He's just said, hey, look, I'm gonna sign with you guys for another year. I'm guaranteed to be here. And so he could squash all of that. I wish, if Joe Brady really wanted to commit to Rule, I wish he would have done something like that,
Well, see, and that goes back to what Dave said about, who hired him. Because if you look at Joe Brady's history, he never had a history of staying anywhere long term.
No.
He's never committed anywhere. So this is right along the lines of what he's been doing.
He's very ambitious.
Hey, real quick,
you can't blame him either.
I know you're about ready to move on from this topic, but I'm just curious, do you guys have any possible solutions on how to fix this? Like, I'm tired of seeing offensive coordinators sign a 4-year contract to be an OC and leave after 1 year. And same thing with head coaches. Is there a way to structure
there's an easy way to do it. You want to know what it is?
We messed up.
We should have hired an offensive guy.
Yeah, we messed up.
And the thing that bothers me more than that, I know Rashad wants to move on, but the thing that bothers me
really badly.
I know we're gonna get there, brother. So the thing that bothers me more than anything else about the situation is that Tepper was screaming analytics, somebody that's not old school, and all he did was hire another defensive coach who's old school. Period. He masked as an analytical guy, but he doesn't coach like one. Period.
All right.
Period.
So yeah, let's hold the Joe Brady talks for when he gets hopefully when he gets hired somewhere else. Because again, I don't want people to mistake that for me not liking the guy, because I think he's a good offensive coordinator. I think he's a good guy, and I like him. But I knew we messed up from the jump hiring this cat, because I knew he was going to take off. But anyway, Jake Peets, LSU, full circle. And anyway, shout out to Jake Peets. All right, so moving on. Let's move on. All right, so we got the general managers here. We had 11 candidates. Now we're down to 10. All right, so we'll go through.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, we're gonna go through. Y'all crazy. We're gonna go through each one of them.
Shout out to the Texans.
I'm gonna give y'all a brief rundown, kind of my research, and just all I ask is that let me finish my research portion before y'all jump in. All right, just let me finish going through what I got, and then I'll turn it over to you guys for commentary. All right, real quick. All right, so Nick Caserio was the first guy. He was the first guy. You can see his history. Not going to spend too much time on it, but I just want to give y'all a breakdown of what I got. I got job history, whether they have a connection to Matt Rule or not, because I think that's kind of semi-important, I think, to the team. Some kind of career highlight, QB philosophy. So in the history of their jobs, how do they treat the quarterback position? I think that's important. And any kind of draft hits or any kind of things that they've hit on. So, and then I've got Super Bowls. If they've been on a Super Bowl winning team, I got Super Bowls right under their picture. And I got red flags. For the guys that have red flags, that I found. Again, if you have a red flag that I don't mention, please speak up. But you see his is kind of blank just because I don't really know what the hell he does or did in New England. Like, the dude did, Bill Belichick does everything. So it was hard to kind of look and find out what he did. Like, with these other guys, you can Google things and you can find out things that they were responsible for doing. And it was hard for me to find anything for Nick Caserio. So that being said, we are no longer in the running for him. He got hired by the Texans, and you can see Deshaun Watson tweeted. He doesn't appear to be too happy about that. We just connecting the dots. That tweet came shortly after the hiring of Nick Caserio. They had Bill O'Brien, went straight to Nick Caserio, both Patriots guys. I feel bad for Deshaun, but everybody tries to recreate that Patriot magic, and it sometimes it works out. More often than not, it doesn't. So I'm glad we did not get any kind of Patriot guy, or yet there's still another one out there, but I'm glad we didn't hire Nick Caserio. Any thoughts on this before we move on briefly?
Hey, good for the Texans. They saved us from another dumb Tepper decision.
Yeah. Go ahead, JJ.
I was going to say, I mean, I couldn't hear what the other gentleman said, but I know that Dave Tepper was targeting Caserio last offseason.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was kind of, the only excitement I had about it was the fact that he was first in line to request the interview for him. And so I just wanted to see, what Dave Tepper saw in Caserio, and hopefully, find out more about it. But, after hearing, I think it was you, Rashad, who came on the Twitter and said, no.
Yeah, me. It was me.
Yeah. And so I'm good with it now.
Yeah. He's, again, people try to recreate that Patriot magic. And, again, Bill was the end-all, be-all. And if you don't get Bill, the man himself, on your roster and head coach of your team and being that general manager, then I don't want no parts. I don't want no parts of it.
Yeah.
So
all you gotta do is look and think about the successful coaches and GMs under Bill. That's all you gotta do, and you'll see there ain't many. There's only a few.
Yeah.
Yep. Just like what Hugo said. All right, so we're gonna move on. Let's check out. All right, so here's the first real candidate. All right, and they're in no particular order, so let's not make any assumptions. So Joe Schoen is how you pronounce his last name. It's actually Shane. Director of player personnel for Miami Dolphins from 2014. I'm not going to read all this stuff, but he's currently assistant general manager for the Buffalo Bills. There's no rule connection. Interesting note: he started his career off as an intern in the Carolina Panthers ticket office. So very interesting. That full circle story could be crazy if that happens. QB philosophy. He was not with. Actually, if you go back into the Bills' history, when they drafted Josh Allen, Doug Whaley was the one he was the GM prior to that, so he's the one that kind of set the wheels in motion for them to draft Josh Allen. So I don't give too much credit to Brandon. Everybody jumps on the Brandon Beane. Oh, look what he's building. I mean, yeah, it looks good, but Doug Whaley kind of set them off really nicely, especially with drafting Josh Allen with the way that they are now. And a couple draft hits they got right now. Ed Oliver, 2019 first round, pick 16. It was all rookie team. Tremaine Evans, 2018, another pick 16. So anybody got any thoughts on Joe Schoen from the Buffalo Bills? Anybody? I got a couple
The only reason why I don't think this is going to happen is because of the fact that he's part, like, even though he's Buffalo, he's part of the Carolina. Well, actually, no, he's part of the Carolina, the Buffalo Panthers, so to speak.
Yeah, no, he was a scout for us too, Dave. He was a scout for us too.
That means that ain't happening. They're not going to bring somebody that's formerly been here in. So I don't think he has a shot in hell. So you need to move on to the next guy. My opinion.
I wonder if he's a hometown guy, that would make it would. I think it would make sense.
But the thing is,
he has
it's
some loyalty to the Carolinas.
Yeah, but it's Tep. He wanted to clean house. He finally cleaned house. He's not going to bring somebody in that has former Panther experience at this point. He's gotten rid of the GM. He's gotten rid of the head coach. He's not going to bring in a GM who used to work within that region. So I don't see this one happening. I don't think we're going to take anybody that's been hired from Buffalo prior to McDermott being there. That's just my opinion. McDermott and Bean, because
Yeah. As Slim said, they did.
I'm not doubting how good he is. I'm not doubting how good he is. I'm just thinking about who's going to make these decisions. So I don't see it happening.
Yeah, he's a young cat. Again, he did work with Brandon Beane in 2017. He was actually a intern for Brandon Beane, brought him coffee and all that. So it was cool to see him get hired by Buffalo as an assistant general manager. I think he's going to be a guy to watch in the next couple of years. I think he's a bit young, and because he has, I think, a little bit ways to go. But a couple more years, I think he'll be just fine. But any more thoughts on Joe Schoen before we move on?
I had thoughts, but then Dave killed them all.
No, bring on your thoughts.
I don't think it's
Yeah, we need balance. We need balance.
I didn't know much about him before I saw the article released by the Panthers yesterday after they completed the interviews. I know a lot of people are praising Brandon Beane right now, and I do know that he did come from the previous regime that was here before. So, you're right, Dave. I think Tepper does have a certain way about him where he wants to do it with his own guys. But I don't know if he will avoid somebody who shows like real talent, so it really depends on the interview and how much he can prove of what they built in Buffalo, he was part of, and his scouting prowess. I think if he could convince them that what he's done has contributed to what they've built, I hope that Dave Tepper could see beyond that pride that he has about wanting to build his own thing.
No, I'm with you.
That has yet to be seen.
No, I'm with you. But the other thing that might do this kid in too is the fact that he doesn't have a Matt Rule connection, which tells me that Matt Rule's days are numbered if he shows up. And then that also show another thing about Tep, because maybe Tep knows that, hey, I might have to put this guy on a hotter seat than I should so soon. If he doesn't turn this around next season.
That's an interesting thought. Hold that thought, Dave. We'll talk about that when we wrap it up. But I think that's interesting thought. All right, so we'll move on from Joe Schoen if there's no other comments. All right, so the next up, we got Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. He is an analytics guy. Has a background in commodities trading. So he does do some things that Tepper can identify with. Stock market and all that stuff. A big time analytics guy. Again, he was a director of football research and development with San Francisco for a long time. VP operations for the Cleveland Browns. Came over with Andrew Berry. Andrew Berry hired this guy. There's no Matt Rule connections. One of the highlights that he was attributed to was Jack Conklin, signing Jack Conklin free agent, kind of shore up their offensive line. This is a huge assumption by me. Just based off the teams he's been associated with, I don't see a huge connection to going after quarterbacks early. They kind of tend to get a guy and just build around him. So that's just a huge assumption by myself. There's no evidence towards that. And then one of the draft picks addressing the offensive line. You can see a big focus on the offensive line where he's been associated with. So any thoughts on Kwesi? He's an analytics dude. So Tepper
This is the put your money where your mouth is, though. Hey, this is the type of guy that he should hire. All jokes aside, this is the guy.
This is my sleeper, man. And the reason he's my sleeper is because of what you just said, Dave. I mean, Tepper came in last year saying that he wanted to go heavy analytics, and I didn't know the fella before I started researching candidates like a week or so ago. But when I researched him, he doesn't have ties to Matt Rule, but he does have ties to someone who has ties to Matt Rule. And
so that's a tie then.
And that's Adam Peters, right? Peters is another candidate that's coming from the San Francisco system. Yeah. And that Matt Rule has had ties with, I guess, back when he coached at UCLA or somewhere. Yeah, but Kwesi has worked with Adam Peters for the last, I think, 3 years in San Francisco before he came to Cleveland. And so even if Adam Peters isn't the guy for Carolina, to me, if Matt Rule, who it was noted that he keeps in contact with Peters, if he still stays in contact with Peters, then he would go ask him about Kwesi, right?
That's a good point.
So if Kwesi is a guy that, looking at your notes, he likes offensive linemen because he went out and signed Jack Conklin, he drafted Jedrick Wills, and they build around an existing QB. I'm not saying that, I want to do that here in Carolina, but I know that Matt Rule is a trenches type guy. And so if he's heavy analytical, that appeases Dave Tepper. If he's a guy that likes to build in the trenches based on his history of building around the offensive line, then that's going to appeal to Matt Rule. And Matt Rule said in a recent press conference that they're going to go heavy offensive this year with the draft, or they could, because they went so heavily defensive last year. So he would be an interesting prospect. To me, he's the sleeper candidate of all the candidates because that's the guy that could shock everybody.
I don't want no parts of it. I don't want it. any part.
Explain.
This has Moneyball written all over. I understand wanting to go analytics. Listen, man, dude look like he my 19-year-old little brother, man. I need to see some football decisions made, and I don't want you to be having your first real gig with my franchise. You know, so maybe if he was a retread somewhere, we had a little bit more info on him. Okay, but you know who else liked, offensive defensive lineman? David Gettleman. How'd that work out? So like, I just need to see more. Like, we just need a better cohesion. Like, you can't go all the way analytics where you just reading off a piece of paper. That's what this feels like. This feels like, and it has a lot of the same characteristics of the rule hire. What is Tepper's background in? Trading. What's his background in? Trading. I feel like we're up for that. Oh man, he really reminds me of myself interview after.
Well, he doesn't look like him. He doesn't
look like him, right? But just like the business background, blah 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 blah. But like the football aspect still matters. Like being able to evaluate players still matters. And if you're pairing him with Matt Rule, nah, man, I need someone that has a little bit more NFL, like traditional NFL experience, that is a little like put in there, like has traditional NFL experience, but also blended well with analytics. This seems like we doing analytics, and football still matters.
Real quick, let me address this real quick. Let me address this comment real quick. So that's not how the rule works. The new rule is that if we hired this young man, then the Browns would get the picks. They would get 2 third-round picks, not us. So it's the team that develops the guy, not the team that hires the guy. So go ahead, JJ.
Yeah. Oh, I want to add to my brother's comment right here. The other connection to the organization, not necessarily through Matt Rule, but if you all remember, Dave Tepper wanted to pull the Andrew Berry from Philadelphia before he got hired by Cleveland. And so, being that this guy went to work with Andrew Berry, as you know,
interesting.
It is an interesting tie.
That's very interesting. Interesting. Yep. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That
ain't an accident, man.
That's a good connection I didn't think about. That's very.
I thought about it. I was like, he's in Cleveland with the guy that Tepper
we were supposed to get.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So this could be his, his.
And
what's his role?
What's
his role?
He's VP. But not only that, he's VP of football operations. So like, I'm sure they're in the same. I mean, you would like to see. I think I'm with Jay Simp. You would like to see that a little bit longer. You'd like to see him be in together with him a little bit longer. But I'm with JJ too. Like, that's a connection I really didn't even think you wanted. Andrew Berry. Mm-hmm. This guy been working with Andrew Berry for an entire year. Oh, let me get that. Let me get that piece. So I mean, it makes sense. I don't know. It's interesting. All right, let's wrap up Kwesi because we got a bunch more to get through. Any last comments?
I'll say one thing also with him being a Princeton guy. We've seen Tepper definitely loves his Ivy League. We definitely have some people currently working that are Ivy League as well.
That's another one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He hooped. I think he hooped for Princeton. He played basketball. I think that's what it was.
Well, all he did was set screens. Then that's all.
Is that?
That's what they do in Princeton.
Set screens.
That's funny. That baseline. The baseline. All right. So let's move on from Kwesi. Let's move on. It's good. That was a good conversation right there. I like that. All right. So next up is Ryan Poles. This kid is another interesting one. I had to dig a little bit, but this guy has got some credit for a couple big things here. So he's been in with Kansas City for a long time, seen several GMs come up through Kansas City. He's seen in Kansas City at their worst, seen Kansas City at their best. All right. So if you look, he did block. He actually played for Boston College, and he blocked for Matt Ryan at Boston College. Just interesting note there. Not necessarily highlight, just interesting. This guy he's been responsible for some of the draft and some of the undrafted free free agent guys that they got over the years. And the scouting, with the whole scouting, you got to wonder who was responsible for scouting Pat Mahomes. You got to think he was in that room to say, let's go look at Pat Mahomes. So I don't know. It could be. Maybe I'm reaching a little bit, but it's interesting. Interesting thought.
So
any thoughts on Ryan Poles?
So what I'm hearing is, for the QB truthers, this is their guy.
Yeah. Yep.
This is their guy right here, man.
Could be.
This is your guy.
Yeah, and I mean, he stuck around for a couple different front offices, which is, when you stick around like that, I mean,
that means you're viable as hell. Like, if you out here surviving all them storms, man, that means you're viable if you stick around.
I like that a lot. I like a guy who sticks around and he's seen, for one, he shows longevity, that he can stick around in a place for nearly a decade. I like the fact that, he's the assistant director of player personnel. He helped get the Patrick Mahomes pick. I mean, seriously, this is the kind of guy who's seen it all. He hasn't just seen the winning franchise. He hasn't seen a terrible franchise, but he's seen them go through their ups and downs, like you said. So I'm not saying this is the guy yet, but man, I really like this one.
Yeah, Poles is a good one. Anybody else?
He's in my top 3. Like everything that he just said, like spot on again, like is correct. It's the longevity here for me. It's the ability just to spot talent, like when you did your rebuild, like how to rebuild. The things that I read about him said that he was instrumental in that role and trading certain assets away, getting certain assets, like maneuvering, new age maneuvering. You talk about analytics, right? Like you can talk about analytics all you want, but analytics doesn't really mean anything. Like how you gonna operate really matters, right? Mm-hmm. And if he was responsible for those moves that Kansas City made, or not directly responsible, but was in that room learning from someone or whatever, like that's appealing to me.
So just to address this question, Slim, yes, he was around for the Pioli era. Yes. Dude's seen a lot. And just another thought is this cat, if you want to compare, just kind of give Panthers a frame of reference. You think about a dude like Brandon Beane, who had been around forever in the Panthers organization, stayed around, multiple owners, multiple GMs. It's kind of the same situation that we could be seeing with Ryan Poles. So just interesting thought there. Any other thoughts on Poles?
Also, he was the director of I think college. Say director of college scouting.
Yep.
And Field Yates did say he was a young smart guy. So it's going to be interesting.
Anybody else?
No, you guys have sold me on him. I really hadn't dug into him much, but based on the way you just broke him down, then I would be okay with him just based on this discussion. So I'm glad I'm on here for this.
All right. Next up, we got his partner in crime, Brandt Tillis. So this is another guy that doesn't have much on the personnel side as far as building and drafting and picking up cats. But this is where I think we could be leaning a bit towards. Is a guy that, because it seems as if Matt Rule wants all the personnel decisions. He wants control of 53-man roster. This guy is just known for kind of keeping the guys around, right? He's the numbers guy, crunching the contracts. He was the first, I guess, if according to the reading I've been, according to research I've been doing, he was the guy that kind of realized that, hey, this Mahomes deal is going to be more like a baseball contract than a quarterback contract. He's the guy that kind of realized it, got it done. He's also credited for the Chris Jones and Travis Kelce extensions. So, again, a QB philosophy, pay him. That's all I really got from him because there's really nothing else. He's been around for a minute, too. And really, he has there's no really nothing related to the draft because he's a kind of the front office number crunch guy. I know we have one already, but as far as, maneuvering around and identifying those guys, I guess that's what he's been doing in Kansas City. Any thoughts on Brandt Tillis?
I think it would really come down to what Pepper's philosophy. Does he? Because there's two types of philosophy between a GM and head coach. You have the GM and head coach like what's in Oakland right now with Mayock and Gruden, where they work hand in hand on all the draft picks and roster decisions and everything like that, right? Then you have almost any other team, a lot of other teams where the GM handles strictly the contracts, and the head coach is given more draft capital, or I guess control of who they draft and stuff, which is the way I would want to go. Honestly, I want a GM who's going to let the head coach have more decisions in the draft and the personnel, because it's his team calling the plays and running the plays. So I mean, this is the first one that's different from the other previous three. So it's really what's Tepper's philosophy? Does he want them to work in conjunction together or stay in their own lanes? So it comes down to that. But he's a very interesting candidate if that's what he's going to focus on, is the contracts and extensions.
Well, to me that feels redundant based on what Rashad was saying. The whole time you was describing, his highlights, what he's done, with contracts and stuff. I thought that's why they brought, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Suleiman. They brought him in to be the capologist. And so this guy seems to be a glorified capologist too. And so unless you're bringing in something that's really in depth in terms of, your scouting abilities and, and being able to have a track record of success with that or analytics, then I don't know what value you're bringing that Suleiman doesn't already provide for us.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Nah, I'm with you there.
Yeah.
I would pass. And for the same reason, okay, so now we got 2 cap guys.
Yeah.
What's the point? Unless you're just saying Rule has control of the roster. If that's what you're saying, then okay, I guess.
But then it goes back to, why would you hire him? Right? So if you're saying Rule's going to have control of the roster and you already got a guy that's doing what this guy is probably going to end up doing, why would you hire him? Unless you're firing Suleiman.
Well, Suleiman's not negotiating contracts. He's structuring the cap and telling you, this is as much as we can spend. This is who we have to cut. He's just crunching the numbers on a calculator, man, a glorified calculator. This guy is actually working with agents to negotiate contracts and things like that. Yeah. So I feel like that's why this is an appealing hire for me, because what has been the Panthers, Achilles heel the last 10, 15 years? It's been our cap. It's been our contracts have just been insane that we've given to some of these people. So
it's been about. I agree. It's been Kev. It's about signing the right guys. I think that's what this dude is. It's not just about kind of figuring out the numbers. It's about finding the right people and paying the right people. So it's a bit different. Maybe I don't know. I can't speak for what Samir does. I'm not in the front office, but I just think that there's a slightly different. But if they're going to be redundant, then I agree that it doesn't make sense. But yeah, any more thoughts? My fault.
Well, I'm going to give a broad thought in terms of, what Dave Tepper told us his philosophy was in looking for a GM. And he didn't say it this year, but he said it last year. And it was something that I never forgot. When he was talking about keeping, and it could have been smoke and mirrors, but when he was talking about keeping Marty Hurney on, he mentioned that Marty Hurney was, one of the best scouts. You all have seen that quote that there is or whatever. But he said, their business side of the house could stand some improvement. And, that's somewhat of a vague statement, because people don't realize, all the things that a GM does. We get caught up in the, just the scouting and drafting and free agency and contracts. But they don't just work on the contracts for just that. They handle a lot of the other logistics and stuff that go on with operations too. Yeah. And so, big picture wise, if what you're saying about Samir is correct in that he just structures the cap and then lets them go out and do their business, then if this guy is more of a negotiator type, that can really will and deal and get things done, then maybe he does have a different value from Samir. But that's yet to be seen.
Agreed. All right, so any more thoughts on Brandt Tillis? So we're about to get to some heavy hitters in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Or next.
Where's my heavy hitter?
Oh, man, I'm excited. Let's go.
It's coming. All right, so here we go. The first heavy hitter is Jerry Reese. All right, so Jerry Reese, director of player person, that's been around the Giants forever, right? He's been around the Giants from 2004, 2017. Interesting connection with Matt Rule. Matt Rule was the offensive line coach with the Giants 2012. His highlight includes, he drafted a lot of cats that went to the Super Bowl, that played in that Super Bowl in 2007. Guys like heavy contributors like Ahmad Bradshaw, Steve Smith. There's a couple, and then Aaron Ross, Kevin Boss, a bunch of guys in that draft contributed to the 2007 Super Bowl win. Philosophy, he's never had anybody outside of Eli Manning, and I think that's partially the reason why he got fired. Could be wrong. I don't know. This is me thinking out loud. But some hits he had, JPP. He's got some really big hits, but he's got some really bad drafts too. And he's being around that long. Obviously, you're gonna hit. But if you listen to Giants fans, I did some research, and some of these drafts were awful. Like, they're really bad. So I don't know. Any thoughts on Jerry? Got 2 Super Bowl victories too, 2007, 2009.
Shot. I'm gonna ask you a question.
Go ahead, Jason. You go first. Go ahead.
I'm gonna ask you a question. Do you want to rehire Marty Hurney?
Thank you. That's what I was gonna say.
Like, that's what this is. Oh, I took some time off. I got 3 years off. I looked at some things. I reevaluated. I learned from my mistakes.
The Mike McCarthy method.
Right.
I was looking at all the draft classes over the past 3 years.
Right. I'm good.
This sounds like used car parts. Like, I don't want to use car. You know, this guy, we've seen what he could do in New York. Yeah, but again, like you said, the draft hits is irrelevant to me because when you've been around that long, you're going to have some hits. I do not care about the connection to Matt Rule. If anything, I think that could be contradictory to what they wanted, like what they would do. I mean, that seems like you're hiring your boss to work over you again, to be in charge of you. Like, I don't know. I don't like that. I really don't like Jerry Reese. The second that it was put out that the Panthers were interested in him, and I was like, oh my God, please no. It's just another Marty Hurney. Let's get someone new.
So Slim says Marty Hurney got 2. He's asking if Marty Hurney has rings, and that'll be a no. And Reese hits in the middle rounds more than the average GM. I would have to assess that. But that 2007 draft though, he hit. And a lot of those guys. It wasn't a like. It didn't age well. But as far as that
to build a Super Bowl championship,
yeah,
I mean it aged well enough. Like, I know, like Giants fans are like clamoring and complaining about Jerry Reese, but the man brought them 2 championships, and I bet you they wish they had him back, considering what the hell they got right now. Because Gettleman got another year,
right?
So.
Yeah. So and just to go back, that's kind of what continuity can do to you, right? So I think Ernie Accorsi was the GM before him, and handpicked Reese to kind of succeed him. And then, they went from Jerry Reese, who was essentially, I think David Gettleman was around when Reese was there. So this is what continuity kind of breeds. That's kind of why I want some new blood. But I don't know. Any thoughts on Jerry Reese outside of that? Outside of what we heard so far?
I'm gonna give you this thought. I mean, because what people said, is pretty much what the case is with Reese. I'm not in love with the candidate, but it's too hard to look at this team and Matt Rule and his connections, and the fact that he references what happened with that New York team so much. Tom Coughlin and his experience working with that group, and and the fact that, I don't know if you remember this, but when he first came on board, him talking about how smart Eli Manning was, and the fact that they were strong on the defensive line and things like that. I think there are a lot of philosophy matches, that Jerry Reese would have with all the people who mentored him. Matt Rule would have with the people who mentored him along the way, and I'm just scared. It's not that I want him. I'm just scared that
this could be the pick.
Yeah, because Matt Rule is involved with the pick. And once he gets in the interview room and they start talking about good old times, I don't know if he'll be able to.
Oh, God, you're scaring me, bro. You're scaring me.
I'm scared myself.
Listen, man. The moment when they let Marty Hurney go, and Matt Rule said, and Tepper said that Matt Rule is going to be involved in the interview process, yes. You have to be scared of this, bro. You have to be.
This guy scares me only because of that. I don't have anything against him. I'm not for him. But when I think about Matt Rule in an interview with Jerry Reese and them talking about the good old times with Tom Coughlin, I'm terrified.
But the problem is that means Jerry Reese got to fire Matt Rule and bring in Tom Coughlin.
No, he doesn't have to do that.
I'm just joking. I know
he'd be brought in as a special advisor, though, and then everybody would be upset on the team and leave.
Yeah. Saw what happened to Jacksonville when that happened, right? Yeah. Even though Jacksonville did do some damage while he was there. You can knock him all you want. Jacksonville almost made the Super Bowl while Coughlin was there.
This is the thing about
if they had somebody other than Blake Bortles, they probably would have gotten there. Truth be told, but you know,
this is the thing about Coughlin. Coughlin is an old school guy, and Matt Rule
is an old school guy.
Yeah, he's an old school guy who believes in everything that Tom Coughlin is about. I'm telling you, that's his mentor. And if he called Tom Coughlin and asked Tom Coughlin what he thought about Jerry Reese, and Tom Coughlin said, "Hey, look, that's your guy," then he's going to be our GM, and that's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah, I think it's a heavy lean towards Reese, but yeah, again, he has some hits. He absolutely has some hits. There's some undeniable hits, but there are more bad than good. I tell you that. You go back and look at the draft classes. He's got a lot to pick from, and it ain't pretty. It ain't pretty. Sorry. So that being said, any last words on Jerry Reese before we move on?
Let's go to the next guy.
All right, next up, Jeff Ireland. All right, so Jeff Ireland has got another long history. As general manager of Miami Dolphins for 2008-2013. Draft consultant for the Seahawks for 1 year, and then he moved on to the Saints from 2015 to now. There's no known connection to Matt Rule. The interesting thought, he got his own scouting department built 2016 with the Saints, and they did some serious damage in the draft with the Saints. However, his QB history is not very good. I think when he was with Miami, they took Henney in 2008 in the second round, turned around the next year in 2009, and took Pat White in the second round. Meanwhile, they still had Chad Pennington on the roster. So really weird. And I don't think they've done any kind of QB. I think they drafted a couple QBs with the Saints. I could be wrong on that, but I don't recall any. No, there's no big names. Obviously, they still have Drew Brees there. And the draft, I mean, his draft hits are undeniable. What they've been able to do over there with the draft is insane. So, any thoughts on Jeff Ireland?
It looks like he learned, but other than that, I think I'm going to have to pass on this guy. And the thing, because oh God, I don't know. I mean, my problem, like, he might have learned from his, because he was terrible in Miami.
Terrible.
Awful.
You know, I could compare him to when we signed Matt Khalil. When I said we signed the second year Matt Khalil, not the first year. So maybe I could say, all right, maybe we'll sign the current Jeff Ireland, and hopefully he doesn't transform to the Miami Jeff Ireland. Because if he transferred to Miami Jeff Ireland, it'll be ugly. I kind of would like to hire somebody that doesn't have a Matt Rule connection, because it gives us an opportunity to get some level of transparency. But I don't know if that's going to even be feasible if Matt Rule is going to get a say in the call unless Tepper overrides him.
So I originally liked it just off script. Just seeing the Saints, how they've had, a long Super Bowl window, I would say. The draft pick hits like right there. I'm like, oh, dang, okay.
It goes way longer. I got a whole list, bro. Their draft is ridiculously good.
It's really good. And then I got really scared when I read what he did in Miami. And he was the guy
I'm going to let you talk about it. Go ahead. Because I didn't bring it up to let you have it. Go ahead.
He was the guy that asked Dez Bryant if his mother was a stripper at the NFL Combine. And that alone should have been reason enough for him to never get a job again.
But
and obviously, we see the picture. We know who he is. He went on to succeed and do well and do good. He apologized to Dez after the incident, but man, I can't even begin to believe how many people in any other work environment would have been fired on spot for something like that.
Hold on, Jason. Just to give the full story. The full story was supposedly that Dez Bryant told Jeff Ireland that his dad was a pimp. So that's why he asked. That's why he followed up with that question. I'm not trying to make an excuse. I'm just giving the entire picture. Go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, let's hope. And you kind of ruined it for me because like on the tip that I come from, I'm like, man, this is the guy that I heard about all these years. I didn't connect those dots. Just looking at his resume, I've always looked at the Saints as a team that drafts well. You know, we're in the division with the Saints, and so how they draft it is in our faces twice a year, and they're beating the crap out of us. So I'm like, good God, like how can we get a GM like that? And I said that during this season, you know, looking at the draft picks, and so if I only can think that he's the guy that we see most recently, right? Because his track record of drafting, you know, well has shown itself over the last what 5, 6, 7 seasons in a row. And so I want a guy who drafts that way. I want my team full of talent, you know, through the draft and built organically. And then, you know, I'm thinking about something that's kind of funny, but a lot of people look at how the Saints have done their business over that time and thought they worked the magic to get these guys under the cap and continue to pursue new guys while having paid all these guys all this money. So if he can bring in his tricks of the trade as a GM to show us how to get that done and have a talent-laden roster and stay competitive year after year, I want some of that. But you definitely gave me a red flag to have to worry about now.
You know what that resume says to me? It says that when his team doesn't have a quarterback already established, already have a franchise quarterback, he struggles to identify quarterback talent. When his team does have a quarterback like Drew Brees, he is set with building pieces around him. That's what I take away from this. And we are a team that will, if not this year, if it'll be next year, will need a quarterback. And I don't want to be picking in the middle rounds, wasting picks. I'm going to pass on this guy. I mean, but honestly, he's kind of 50-50. If we did it, I would shrug and be like, all right, cool, let's give him a chance. If we passed on him, I'm more than happy.
Well, let me ask you this question based on what you just said, because that, you know, his resume speaks for itself in that manner. I believe you're right. But say this year, you know, we have pick number 8, and let's say we go all in and get the quarterback this year, and then, you know, thereafter, you know, then he just kind of builds the team around that guy. Given we get that guy right, you know, would you be okay with him in that scenario?
He's tried that.
No, I definitely think so. Yeah, I definitely think so. It would depend though.
We have to get the quarterback this year.
This year, yeah, it would have to be like this year, or again, if him and Matt Rule, they sit down and they identify the future and the way they want to go with this, and they look at the salary cap and what they can or can't do. I mean, you can only give up so many draft picks. I mean, we can't give up the house. Even to get Trevor Lawrence, I don't want to give up our entire, you know, next 3 years of first round picks, second, third round picks to move up to number 1. Like, and if it's not Trevor, then we can do some manipulation to get our guy, you know, whether it's 1 or 2 picks above or below us, as far as trading up or trading down. But, you know, I would be okay. Again, I would be okay with this guy. I would be okay with it. I just don't know if I would love it, but I would definitely give him a chance. I'd like him better than Jerry Reese.
Yeah, let me give you another pro Ireland plug, and trust me, you know, this isn't my guy by far, but I did like a lot of things about him. I think it's important if you can get a guy from within the division as well, because not only does he know, what your team is and what your team needs, you know, he knows every other team and how they're built too, and, you know, and how to build a team to beat the teams in our division.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point.
That's why originally I was so high on him when I knew his draft picks. And that same thing you said, JJ, I was talking to Noli. I was like, you know, you can have the ability to take from the Saints, make yourself better. Breeze is going to retire this year. I mean, you pretty much leave them, like, you know, hurting in some ways.
And think about the guys that they're going
I'm 50-50 on it at the end of the day. Like, the red flag in Miami is a big red flag. But I also believe in second chances. I believe you can learn from your mistakes. And develop and grow as a person. I think it looks like he's done that in New Orleans. So I'll be good with him, give him a chance.
So check this out too, and then I'm gonna let y'all move on from it. Look at all the guys on the same, you know, all those guys that were drafted in 2017. Well, next season they'll be coming due.
Well, they paid most of these. They paid Marshawn. Not Marshawn. Okay, never mind. I'm thinking. Never mind. You're right. You're right.
So Lattimore is coming due after 2022, right? They didn't extend him. They gave him the
no. Yeah, I don't think they did that, but they're in some cap issues right now, and so that's another positive I was gonna say is that they do know how to manipulate the cap. They do know how to squeeze guys and make it happen. When that window was established, I have no problem doing what the Saints did, but right now with the way COVID is set up, and that it's going to catch up to them. So I think they may have to move Lattimore. They may have to trade Lattimore. I think I was reading things, but go ahead.
That's what I'm saying, but not even the trade. I'm saying, when after these guys' 5-year contracts are up, from 2017, if you have the GM in place that drafted them, you're going to have your pick at, not
connection.
It's going to be some familiarity there.
Mm-hmm.
And so
right.
You're going to have your pick of the litter from the Saints free agent pool because of that familiarity.
It's a good point. I didn't even think about that either. That's a great connection. All right. Any more thoughts on Jeff Allen before we move on? Got a couple more to get to.
All right. I'm going to say this and then we can move on. We'll just go ahead and move on. But Slim, the thing about Kamara is that Kamara didn't have the option for a 5th year because he was a 3rd round pick. Yeah. So you can't. So Kamara didn't have that option. I think the most he can have is 4 years. But let's move on to the next guy.
All right, moving on. Next up, we got. I went too far. Oh no, I didn't. Ed Dodds. All right, so Ed Dodds. I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm just gonna go ahead and lay it out there. This is my guy. 1,000%. I want this guy really bad. All right, but all right. So this dude started out. He came in the NFL in 2017. Started national scout director for the Seahawks. Rose up through the ranks. Ended up being the executive player personnel. He did a lot of things. Obviously, they've credited him with scouting and looking at Russell Wilson. They credit him for putting together the Legion of Doom. Legion of Boom, excuse me. Legion of Boom, not the Legion of Doom. My fault. I think it got wrestling on my mind.
Shout out to Animal and Hawk, man.
Yeah, man. Shout out to them. But yeah, man. One of the things that he's been, especially when you look at his Colts years, right? When you look at the Colts years, what they've done since him and Ballard have been there has been crazy. They've completely flipped that defense. The defense was trash. Now they're like a top 5 defense in the league. The drafts that they've been able to do, the trades that they've been able to pull off. I'll highlight the trade. They traded back from 3rd overall in 2018 to pick number 6. Picked up 2 additional 2nd round picks. And with I think they ended up with like 4 2nd round picks that year. They drafted Quentin Nelson and Braden Smith, completely redid their offensive line. The offensive line went from shit to great, like literally in 1 year with those 2 picks. And then again, they built around they built teams around quarterbacks, not necessarily drafted in early rounds. And even when you look at Phillip Rivers now, Phillip Rivers is not the greatest quarterback, but they're still in contention because they have a defense, they have an offensive line. But if you look at the draft hits, I mean, the incredible draft. I mean, Quentin Nelson in the 2nd round, Darius Leonard in the 2nd round, both for all pro their rookie years. I mean, the draft history is crazy. He's credited to be one of the best scouters in the league. It's a lot, man. It's a lot to go through. I probably did the most research on him just because I got intrigued with everything that I saw. He is the best. There's no denying it that he is the best candidate out there right now. You cannot convince me otherwise. Any comments?
Yeah. Love it. Let's do it. Pull the trigger on this guy.
No, you know what? I want the Panthers to be like the Texans was. Like they interviewed Nick Caserio and they say, "Look, we picking Nick Caserio." If we interviewed this guy today, then they need to pick him like immediately because I wasn't big on Ed Dodds before. I actually have another favorite, but when I look at the 2 teams that he's built, and I'm very familiar with the team he built in Seattle, or helped build in Seattle. I'm a defensive guy. I told you guys that before. If you can build 2 top-tier defenses like you built in Seattle and the one that they have in Indy right now, give me that. The only concern I have, for him based on what you put here for his QB philosophy, he seems to build around guys like the guy that we currently have starting at QB. So that concerns me. I know that there was some interest in bringing Teddy to Indy before they went Phillip. We was interested in Phillip Rivers, before we got Teddy. But
and you know what the crazy thing is, though, brother?
What's that?
We could have seen how Teddy would have done with what the Colts had around him. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, dude, like that's the type of team that Teddy can be successful in.
I know, and that's what I'm thinking though. But I know, to me, I hate because I supported the idea of Teddy being the starting quarterback and giving him a chance. To me, he didn't do enough to be that in year one. He could have proven himself a little bit more. If Teddy had done just a little bit more to give us a little bit more confidence, then pairing him with an Ed Dobbs who would build a great defense around him, I would think that would be enough to push us into that next tier, the playoff tier and competing every year. Because he doesn't have a history of drafting quarterbacks, even though he was there for the Russell Wilson third-round pick, I don't know what he's going to do with the QB position. Would he want to build around Teddy and then they see if he can improve, or is he going to go and draft a guy like most of the fan base wants to do? But everything outside of that is A+ for me. He wasn't on my radar, just because it's just a guy I wasn't tracking. But now that so many people have talked him up, I've read up on him. He is the superstar. And then earlier this morning, I actually saw Matt Miller or somebody tweet, how he is like known around the league as a scout, as a big time scout. And so if he has that eye, for talent, I want him. Period. And so,
he has it. He has it. And it's a couple things with the free agency too. Not only just he went out and got Kenny Moore II, who was an undrafted free agent, turned out to be one of the best cornerbacks in the league this year. So he's got it. When it comes to looking for talent, he's got it, dude.
And DeForest Buckner. That's the most underrated move of the offseason was DeForest Buckner.
Yeah, they traded a first round pick to get him too. So he's not scared to go out and get the guys. And so this is another good point was that he hits in the later rounds too. This dude is hitting all over the draft. I mean, it's 4th round picks, 5th round picks. All these dudes are contributing. So it's not like it's a Hurney situation where we're only hitting in the first round. Like this dude is hitting everywhere. So it's good, man. It's good. Any more comments on it?
I got this guy. I got this guy tied right now at number 1 between him and Poles from Kansas City. I like this guy a lot. He's right up there for me.
Okay.
Noli, go ahead.
If Tepper wants to win, this is a clear-cut number 1. No question about it. But honestly, I'm even shocked he's interviewing for us. This man is going to have options. Why?
Mm-hmm. Well, he might not have too many options. I mean, like, when you sit down and think about the remaining teams that are looking for a GM, you could argue the Panthers might be one of the better spots at this point.
Why wouldn't he wait a year?
Disagree, Dave.
Why
I disagree,
wouldn't he wait
Dave.
a year? He turned down the
Really?
Browns job
Yes.
last year. He has time to wait. He's going to be a GM one day. He turned down the Browns interview last year. My thing is, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I just feel like this is all a dog and pony show, all these GM hires. Matt Rule let the cat out of the bag when he said, I want someone who I'm familiar with. I mean, that just ticked me off because they're basically just doing all this to hire Adam Peters.
Oh.
Name somebody. So they're obviously going to hire someone he has a connection to. And that's so frustrating because it goes back to what Shad said. Like how you said it on Monday, how the setup of the team is firing and hiring a coach before GM. So this is the clear-cut guy. I also like the Poles guy. But, like, to me, I think it's a dog and pony show, and I think it's going to be Adam Peters. I mean, what? I don't know, man. What do y'all think? Hold
that thought real quick. Go ahead, Vision.
I was going to ask Rashad. Rashad, do you have Adam Peters as one of your candidates here?
Yeah, he's here. He think he's next.
Okay. Well, I'll wait then. That's my number 1. I wanted to ask.
So, why would you let this guy? If this is your guy, so if this is your guy, why would you interview him and let him walk out?
That's what I think because of the way that I function.
Yeah.
But I want to
So
know.
to me, it's not their guy. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's not number 1.
Well, I'll let Rashad get to Adam Peters, then we'll talk about Peters, and we'll come back to Dobbs. I think that's the best way.
All right, real quick. So for Ed Dobbs, listen, I think Slim has been saying it in the chat. The thing with Dave, the reason why I say Ed Dobbs has better places to go is because listen, when you're a GM, you want control, right? You want to bring in your guys. Yeah. It's a bad situation that we have created for ourselves, having Matt Rule hired and then having him being in on the hiring process. It's bad all the way around. We should not. This is not the way to do it. You've got to bring the GM, let him pick the guys, and that's how you have a better chance of success. Why would you come here when you can't? There's nothing you can really do, and then you got Matt Rule saying he wants control over the 53-man roster. Like it's too much control given to Matt Rule for this to be an ideal place for any GM. Honestly, any one of them. It's not a good place for the Panthers, and to let a guy like this dude get away. Like this dude is clearly the best guy out there. It's not even, to me, it's not even close. He is the best candidate out there.
The thing that's crazy though is that this is
not hire this cat is not good.
This is going to be flashbacks to not getting Andrew Berry.
Dave, and that's a good point. And Dave, I equate this from a coaching standpoint. I equate this to not getting Stefanski last year. This is the same thing. This from a GM standpoint, this is the exact same thing. Go ahead, Dave. My fault. I cut you off. I had to get that out.
Nah, you good. I understand the concern. Like if Dobbs wants to do everything on his own, then he ain't coming here.
Right.
Like if he's not willing to give some of that power to Rule, he's not coming here. But I think a power struggle is probably gonna be needed to get this shit right.
I agree. I do agree with that. All right, anything?
You know.
Oh, go ahead, Dave. My fault.
Now I think I'm with Rashad of this being my top guy. There's other folks I like a lot too. Like I like the guy from the Chiefs. I like the guy from the Browns. But Dobbs is definitely the top guy.
Okay.
All right, let's move on. My favorite candidate, as you can tell, I think it'd be stupid not to hire him, but that's neither here nor there. All right, so next up, Adam Peters. We wanted to get to him. This guy has been around for a long time, director of college scouting for the Broncos. Hopefully he goes there instead of coming here because they have an opening too. VP of Player Personnel, San Francisco. What they built over there. He does have the Matt Rule connection, as JJ said earlier. He coached Adam Peters at UCLA. Adam Peters was a defensive end, and he was a defensive end from 98 to 2001. And Rule was a grad assistant there as well, the grad assistant and D-line coach. So highlights, again, he was responsible for beating us in the Super Bowl 50. He drafted 27 players between the draft and undrafted free agency. There's no clear philosophy on the quarterbacks, but I have a really long history of quarterbacks he's been tied to, and it's not pretty. One of the things he's tied to is C.J. Anderson. If you Google C.J. Anderson, Adam Peters, you see on his way out of Denver, or when he left Denver, I think he gave a shout out to Adam Peters for bringing him in and giving him that shot. And then he was responsible for bringing in Nick Bosa. There's a long history of guys that he's drafted. So I'll turn it over to you guys. What do you guys think about Adam Peters?
This is the hire.
This is my pick.
I don't want him because I feel like it's just going. I mean, I don't want to say he's not a good GM, but it's just I feel like Rule has too much say, and he's paid like he has too much say, and he is. I mean, he has all that money, and I think this is the pick. I'd be shocked if it's not Adam Peters. Now, Peters may want to stay on the West Coast, but I think this is the pick, and I just feel like we're just interviewing all these GMs just to, put a facade up like we're really interested when all along this is the guy who we're going to get. And, wish for the best, but Matt Rule is running the show, so I'd be shocked if Peters is not the GM.
Well, unless Peters gets a job somewhere else.
Well, let me ask this question. Out of all the people that we have been reported to have interviewed so far, I know we requested an interview from Peters, but we haven't interviewed him yet, right?
I don't think so.
So he hasn't accepted.
Because Denver really wants him too.
Denver really wants him because that's where he came from. just like you all feel about Dobbs right now. Peters went through that height 3 years ago. He was the Ed Dobbs of 3 years ago. So when John Lynch got hired by the San Francisco 49ers, the first thing he did was call Denver so he can get Adam Peters. He used this direct line to John Elway to pry him from Denver because he knew that Adam Peters was the superstar in their scouting room. If you talk to anybody who
looks like they interviewed Peters today.
Oh, they're probably going to hire him if he wants to come to the East Coast. I get why you guys are high on Dobbs, and you all have convinced me that Dobbs probably is the best candidate, especially without ties to Matt Rule. But if you can get a guy that is just as good at building teams as Dobbs shows to be, and I think Peters has enough in his resume to demonstrate that he can build a good defense in Denver and then recently in San Francisco, which I think they had the number 1 or number 2 defense last year. If he can bring that philosophy to Carolina, and although I know why you wouldn't want any connection to Matt Rule because of the stench of him always having somebody connected to him, because he's already here, it's probably the best case scenario for building and having continuity in the front office.
But
relationship.
I will say though, if Denver has an interest with Adam and Adam doesn't want to leave the West Coast, he's going to be a Bronco, bro. Because yeah, he's going to be a Bronco, and then it's going to get interesting because, correct me if I'm wrong, so far this is the only guy that's had a Rule connection, really, right?
Him and Reese.
Yes.
Reese. Oh, and Reese. All right, Jesus Christ Almighty.
And so let me tell you this too. This is a little nugget. In researching Adam Peters, Peters has already done a lot of research on a guy that a lot of Panthers fans want to draft. And I think if they were to pick him, I think they would package a deal to go and get him, and that's Zach Wilson.
Oh,
you can research that. You can Google it. Just type in Adam Peters and Zach Wilson. They didn't reveal the depth of the scouting, but I guess because they are on the West Coast, they have an opportunity to go check out BYU. And Peters has already done a lot of homework on Zach Wilson. That's just so.
That's the case, yeah. I definitely.
Just to push back on that a little bit. This dude Adam Peters has been tied to a lot of. If you believe, he's been in discussions and been in the room with John Elway. He's been tied to a lot of really bad quarterbacks. Okay, Tim Tebow, Brock Osweiler, Trevor Siemian, Paxton Lynch, C.J. Beathard. I mean. This is why I'm not high on this cat, bro. It's a red flag for me. And again, it could have been Elway. It could have been Elway. But I'm just saying.
Let me tell you about him in San Francisco, though. Yeah, the stuff in Denver is all. I mean, he played, or he was a whatever his role was, VP of Player Personnel, Director of College Scouting, under very two big ego quarterback-centric guys. One in John Elway in his position with Denver, and then with Kyle Shanahan. These guys believe that they can do anything with a quarterback avatar. And so, especially with Kyle Shanahan, I don't know how much say he's had on what they've done with the quarterback position out there. And so we need to see what he actually can do for himself, without having a super ego controlling what happens with the quarterback position.
Yeah, we don't know if Matt Rule has that super ego. He might.
Big, I'm gonna bring my frat brother in, and we're going, energy.
Yeah. If I didn't bring my frat brother, we wouldn't have Dave. So I mean,
there's important things going on, man.
Different frat,
social frat. Y'all are community frat. Y'all are community centers, but
But they think they're community centers too. We just think it's corruption. But I digress. Keep it moving.
I'd say I think having a Matt Rule connection is not the worst thing. I mean,
no, it is. It is.
Why? Hold on 1 second, Dave. What is wrong with having your GM and your head coach on the same page? I mean, there were rumors last year. There was rumors last year that Rule wanted to trade down. Right. Rule wanted to trade down and get out of the pick of Derek Brown. Marty Hurney having the 51% control, the deciding vote ultimately in the draft. He's the one that drafted Derek Brown. Now, Derek Brown's a great pick, But Matt Rule had a different vision. I want my GM and my head coach on the same page, whether it's for better or worse. I don't want finger pointing at Matt Rule for this and for the GM for that separately. I want them both. If we're going to fire one, you fire both. You're going to hire, you hire both. I want them to be on the same page.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But here's my problem. We did it backwards.
Yes.
And that's my issue. We did it backwards. When you fired Rivera, you should have fired Hurney. And you should have hired the GM first and let the GM pick the coach. The coach should not be picking the GM. This is a disaster waiting to happen.
Yep.
It is. I agree.
I don't think we've ever seen it before. We'll see. We can't really call it a disaster when we haven't seen.
I mean, maybe Bill Belichick did it because, you know, it's Bill Belichick. He earned it. He won chips. Rule ain't got. Only thing Rule earned was a $9 million a year contract and 5 wins. He hasn't earned anything to be picking the GM.
So let me just jump in here real quick. So here's the problem with that, and so I don't like that either because again, like they said, we did it backwards. But the problem is that you're giving Rule too much. It's too much power, bro. It's too for you to be and when it goes bad. Okay, you say bad for bad or worse or for good or bad. But if it's gonna go bad, it's gonna be bad for a while. This dude Rule is here for what 6 more years. Like he has an open, pretty much forever deal. It's gonna seem like forever.
Yeah.
If it goes bad, it's gonna go bad because he has a blank check. He can do anything. It's too much power for this one man to have. And
I'd rather have him have too much power though. I'd rather have him have too much power than him be forced to get players that he doesn't feel is the best for his team. The head coach is the one calling the plays, not the GM. I think already that GMs have too much power, that head coaches should have more influence in who they sign and who they draft, not the GM.
Not if you're a head coach that says they don't want to make personnel decisions after a presser after Marty Hurney got fired.
Max.
So like you gotta make up your mind on what you want to be. Like if you want the power, then you're gonna take this power. If you don't want the power, then you let him hire a GM that don't have any connection to you, and then you show him that you can put in the work. Show him that you can coach. He ain't gonna fire you if you're executing. If you're doing well, he ain't gonna try to set you up to fail either. He's gonna try to get you players so you can succeed.
Yeah.
You don't think Marty Hurney was trying to get Rivera to succeed?
But I think there's a lot. I think there's a whole side of it in media relations and PR and stuff that the GM has to consider that the head coach doesn't. I mean, the GM's taken a lot more into consideration when drafting guys. I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. When the GM falls in love with the guy for a certain reason, and if him and the head coach aren't on the same page, there's a conflict there, and a GM may be more inclined to sign some high-profile guy that has a lot of, media attention, that might not be the best pick when it comes to actual football on the field playing, because the GM is not supposedly an expert at that. That's why I do like GMs that have scouting experience. I think we all agree on that. But I just think that the coach should have more say in who we draft because it's his team and they're the ones calling the plays.
Well, Matt Rule said he just wants to coach the team.
In the philosophy of the way in which they want their roster to look, right? But they're on a week in. This is why it's two different jobs. Because on a week in, week out basis, the coach is breaking down film for their opponent, breaking down film for their last game, implementing a game strategy for that current week, while the GM is scouting the rest of, in the front office, is scouting the rest of the league and all of college football. They're two different jobs for a reason. It doesn't need to be collaborative, of course. Of course. They need to be on the same page. That's like, like saying, do you need like electricity? Like, yeah. But the coach should not be overriding the GM on personnel decisions. Like, that should not happen. Yeah. Unless the coach is the GM, like you're Bill Belichick.
Or Matt Rule.
All right, real quick. Let me give a shout out to D'Angelo the Legend real quick. He dropped this big super chat, man. Appreciate that.
Thanks, man.
We work hard to provide this. Man, I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I bust my ass to get this done today, so I appreciate that for real. Because
I told you you didn't have too much to worry about because because we would have waited a week. We're gonna have somebody hired within the next week.
I think so too. Y'all kind of convinced me to get it done quick. But anybody else want to talk about Adam Peters? We still got 2 more, I think.
Yeah, let's keep.
I want to say this before we move on. I know people are probably a little perturbed by the fact that we went and put the cart before the horse by picking Matt Rule before we picked the GM. I think there was a purpose for keeping Marty Hurney around. We talked about that before and all over Twitter. He was supposed to be the executioner. He stayed around for the transition. So now that that's done, I don't think people should get too caught up in the fact that he's already here, right? So now that he's here, you have to back into success. And if it's Peters or somebody else he has a connection with, I think it's only better for us that relationship exists. We may not like it or may not like how it happened, but as long as they can get along and build us a team, man, I don't care. So if this guy's the best guy with the connection to Rule, I want the best guy with the connection to Rule.
I get it. All right, let's move on.
We got 2 more people.
I think we got 2 more real quick. Monti Ossenfort. This cat, he's a Pats guy. Yeah, he's another Patriots guy. You see those rings?
No.
You see those trophies up there?
Pass.
He's
Pass.
Yeah, I know, right? He's been with New England for like 15 plus years. It's been a long time. I know I have 2014, but he's been around way longer than that. He's been around a long time. I think he worked for the team as a personnel assistant in 2013. 2003. I obviously know what happened in 2003. In 2014, that's when he got promoted to director of college scouting, and then got picked up by Tennessee for the director of player personnel. There's no connection to that Rule. All of y'all know what happened there. No real quarterback history to track since it was all Tom Brady. And then there's a couple hits, and again the red flag for me. All personnel decisions made by Bill Belichick, and there's not enough history with the Titans. So Titans are looking good right now, but there's just not enough history as far as him being there to make a determination for me.
He wasn't even there when they really started the run because last year was the damn run. He beat the Patriots. Right. Like, he was on the squad that lost. Man, Facts. Move on. We ain't got to debate this shit.
No.
I don't like him.
All right, hard pass on Monty. I'm glad we all on the same page because I'm not a fan.
I can't do it.
All right, so I'll move on. Go ahead.
I said that means probably gonna be our pick since nobody wants him.
Oh, that would be awful.
Nah, because he doesn't have a Matt Rule connection. We ain't got to worry about him.
You're right.
Move on.
You're right.
All right, we'll move on. All right, so next one is Champ Kelly. This is an interesting prospect. It was kind of intriguing and all that. Then I found out he was there for the whole Mr. Trubisky thing. So I questioned him, threw up a huge red flag for that.
But no, brother. That's what That's something that could happen if you decide to trade up and get your guy. You trade up to get Mitch Trubisky.
I think that was Ryan Pace.
Yeah, and it was Ryan Pace. It was Ryan Pace.
Yeah. He was there though, so you get some credit.
You know who finessed him though? Adam Peters. Just a little tidbit.
Yeah,
he did.
He finessed Champ Kelly and Pace.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point.
So that was all on Pace. Like John Fox said, he didn't know they were drafting Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, he did.
Like that was like I mean I know you put it on there, so because he's in the office, and we and to be fair, we did that with every other candidate, but like that was literally all on Ryan Pace. Like he
wasn't Ryan Pace there when he traded Greg Olsen to us?
No.
Okay, it was a different GM. Okay.
Yeah.
But he did not do like a private dinner with Deshaun. He didn't do like extensive work with him at his pro day, and then he went and traded for Mitchell Trubisky. He just made his mind up that he fell in love with the kid. So,
let me answer this question real quick. There was no gap in his resume. He was there was another position he had took with the Broncos, I believe, in between that time. But there was no gap. He didn't get fired.
Rashad, I will say this about this Champ Kelly. Denver is very high on him as well.
They could take both of them then.
Yeah,
Peters and Champ.
Yeah, they really are high on Champ Kelly, and so yeah, that's just something to consider. I think for them it's going to be between this guy and Adam. Period.
Yeah. Shout out to if he did, shout out to him for being there to take Tariq, man. Shout out to Tariq Cohen, Aggie all day. But yeah, you got to go ahead.
I would say somebody. I think it was. I was watching Pro Football Talk or some show yesterday. They did make mention that aside from the QB pick, or Trubisky or whatever, that Chicago still has a very rounded out roster.
They do.
Yeah.
Their defense is full of studs, across the front seven and the defensive secondary. Like, they have made some really good personnel decisions. So if you can remove the blemish of Trubisky, which this guy was really new when they drafted Trubisky. If you can look past that, they have really put together a really, really talented roster. So
I agree. And here's a couple of things to highlight that. Khalil Mack, they traded for Khalil Mack. They got Danny Trevathan via free agency. They got Akeem Nicks via free agency. Roquan Smith via draft. And they picked up Robert Quinn via free agency too. So there's a heavy emphasis on the defense.
And Allen Robinson.
They picked up Allen Robinson. And then they picked up Bobby Massey too via free agency. There's a lot of good free agent pickups. Even if you go back to the Broncos days, there's some good pickups on the defensive side. DeMarcus Ware, Aqib Talib, TJ Ward. So I agree. You take out that Trubisky thing, then he's got a nice little resume to him.
You know what they say at my job occasionally, man? One old shit will mess up 100 outer boys. I will tell you that right now. And that Mitch Trubisky pick was an old shit.
Well, we don't know if that was on him.
Right. We don't. And I put it up there because I did it for everybody else. So I don't know that to be true.
Complete playoff because we're gonna keep going. I mean, this is just one.
Oh, go ahead.
Lost you.
No, lost me?
No, lost whoever was talking.
Okay. Yeah. Oh no, we good. Go ahead, JJ.
Oh, I was saying that he, one of his best picks was the rookie quarterback. Was 33. I forget his last name. Jalen, the right corner. He was one.
I don't remember.
I forget his name, but he's their rookie cornerback, and to me, he's been the best rookie cornerback. So, I mean, that's from the ones I've seen. I thought that was a really good pick because he picked him in like the second or third round, and he started all year. He's played better than Okuda and Henderson and all the rest of them. That everybody would high on that.
Yep. All right. Anything else on Champ Kelly? All right. So we'll move on. So here's my list. This is my personal list. Again, I'm high on, really. I think it's like Ed Dodds, and like I think everybody else is like way a step down. Nobody's close to Ed Dodds to me. So this is my personal list, just ranking those guys.
Jerry Reese high as hell, bro.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the reason why I got Reese high because I think I don't know if I can explain this the right way, but like I think he's gonna help. I think I do like the continuity. Some of the continuity he'll be able to bring. I think he did draft some good. There were some good drafts. There were some bad drafts. I don't know, man. I don't know. I can't really explain. I got a good feeling about Reese, man. I kind of like him. I do like him.
Rashad, the one thing that he has actual GM experience, and so he has success in that role. So I mean, that has to account for something. So I can accept it.
Yeah.
So anything else on anybody want to pick? I got those, then I got the realistic rankings. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Ken.
What's your realistic rankings?
Here's the realistic rankings. The realistic rankings. Adam Peters. I think Jerry Reese, and I got Kwesi high because I think that's another yes man, right? Since he's not a football guy, he's more of an analytics guy. I think he's more of a yes guy. And the same with Brandt Tillis. That's a yes guy. He's not really a personnel guy. He's just saying, hey, this is what's going to work here. You take him. And then I think Joe Schoen, again, the ties back to Carolina. I think they might like him. He's young. And I think the guys with all the experience, I think they just at the bottom. Just because I don't think that's what we're looking for.
That list makes me think that in 3 years, one of two things is going to happen.
Everybody's going to be gone again.
We're either going to be like looking at playoff contention, or we're going to be sitting here, still chatting it up on the stream, talking about how ever since David Tepper bought the Panthers, he turned us into the Browns.
Yeah,
I really like. We all talked about Dobbs. I really like Poles, man. I really like bringing up a guy like that who's been around somewhere, who's seen the ups and downs of the organization, what it takes to rebuild. That grind you have to go through in scouting and really assessing what your needs are on both sides of the ball. Man, I really like Poles. I might put Poles above Dobbs, honestly. I really am high on Poles. I really am. Dobbs, I would be super ecstatic about. Ireland might be my number 3, and then I probably put Shane probably fourth.
For what it's worth, Joe, however you say his last name, apparently had a strong interview today. Pretty much what I had to say. I think it's just gonna be this is all dog and pony show to get Adam Peters. If Tepper is serious about winning, he would pick Ed Dobbs and give him whatever stipulation he wants. So if he needs to have a one-on-one interview with Tepper afterwards and be like, hey, if you need to fire Matt Rule after 3-4 years, you can go ahead and do that. If he's serious about winning, you get Ed Dobbs, all right, and you override, because at the end of the day, it is your team, and you override what your coach says. But I have a feeling, again, he paid Matt Rule all that money. But if what Dave said is true about the Joe Brady thing, then that was Tepper. Maybe, Tepper can kind of, step in and say, hey, I want to hire this guy. But either way, I think whoever we hire is going to tell us a lot about whether we have a power struggle coming or if it's just, the Matt Rule show. So hopefully, regardless, we just get somebody soon, because then it will, it'll help us inform where we're going to go draft-wise.
So don't y'all think this is another blind draft though? Since we we're gonna have a new GM.
Yes. Blind draft? What do you mean? What do you mean blind draft?
It depends on who it is.
Like
what do you mean blind draft?
We
hopefully last year we didn't know who was responsible for the picks. Like, was it Rule or was it Hurney?
Hurney round.
I think it depends on the GM. Like, we'll see who has the hire will show us who has the power. If Rule has majority power, it's going to be the realistic list.
That's going to be the first question in the GM interview when they happen. Who has
final say?
Who has final say?
And they're going to get some
political be like,
answer about collaboration.
And they're going to say something about collaboration.
But yeah, I think it's Dobbs again. But I'm still wondering why he would even want to accept an interview when he can go somewhere where he can hire his own guy.
Truth be told, I don't think he has a lot of interviews set up too. By the way, if he's taking an interview, I think it's because he wants, and because he's denied some last year. And if he's interviewing with us, I think that's a big step forward for him, and there's got to be some interest.
Well, you know what? That's always a red flag with these owners. If you go back to what happened with McDaniels and Tepper last year, these owners don't like being told no. And so if they know that he denied interviews last year, that may be why he hasn't been reached out to by a lot of people this year.
Well, if there's a high demand, then he can be picky and choosy.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't blame him for wanting to go to Cleveland and staying where he is. I mean, he turned down a promotion not to go to Cleveland. If anything, he would want to go to Jacksonville where he knows he has the #1 overall pick. Right. So I can see why he would come to Carolina for an interview to spark that kind of, that underground surface of chatter in between owners and who's on the market and who's looking for a new job and to move out of town. Like, that kind of stuff is talked about and we don't even hear about it. So he would probably go for a job for Carolina. He'd probably walk away and see what happens with Jacksonville.
No, I
agree. Just let me jump in here real quick. So I think we are the only team he's interviewed for. The Lions, I think they've interviewed like 7 dudes already, but I don't think he's one of them. I'm on a Colts website, and then obviously the Texans. I think they were interested, but they went elsewhere. But he never interviewed with them. So I think we are the only team that Dobbs has interviewed with, and I can't find any connection with another team.
Well, he could wait till next year because he's a future GM. He's literally considered the right-hand man for Ballard. But I guess maybe I don't know if you've answered it, but where do you think Tepper plays into all of this?
I really think Tepper is going to want to justify the rule pick. Tepper has taken a lot of flack around the league, because he kind of messed up the market for new head coaches.
As he should.
And so now that he has his guy, who was the hot guy from last year, I think he's going to want to justify the rule pick, and I don't think he's going to bring in anybody who's going to disrupt what he's trying to build with the rule. And because that's what he's looking to do, that's why a guy like either Peters or Reese would be the ideal guys. And I believe, like what you guys are saying, if this was a clean slate, Dobbs would be my clear number one. But because of what I think he already has in place with Rule, I think it's Peters or Reese, or he goes with somebody like Kwesi as his third option. But right now, for me personally, is Peters or Dobbs. I'll be happy with either one of those guys personally.
Well, I wonder too. Like, and we don't know all the answers as far as what Hurney's involvement was in the bringing Bridgewater. And we will never know. But what the private conversations were like between Rule and Hurney when it regarded draft picks, bringing in Bridgewater, re-signing guys. A lot of people said we should have re-signed Moten at the beginning of the season, gave him an extension where now he's more valuable than what he was at the beginning of the year. So now we just have to pay him more if we want to re-sign him. So like maybe that's something Matt Rule wanted to do. Maybe that was what Matt was like. Hey, we got to get Moten on lock, but we didn't, and that was Hurney's decision. Like Hurney should have done that. But so when Tepper is going through this process and assuming that things were different, all right, between Matt Rule and Marty Hurney, I'm guessing Tepper's going to want somebody who is going to have a good relationship with Matt Rule, that not that they get along, but that they have the same ideologies and philosophies, that they believe the same way to build an organization is through culture, through analytics, and bringing in the best talent in that regard.
Yeah, I think in regards to Teddy, I think that's an obvious Joe Brady. I mean, he worked with them in New Orleans. Yep. I think it's just clear as day, regardless of what the quote-unquote sources said, because I saw it on WFNZ. That's Joe Brady all day.
And it's not just Joe Brady. It was also Evan Cooper, the DB coach.
Yeah.
In South Florida. And Matt Rule talks extensively about how he influenced him to pick up Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
You go into the league, you got to get this guy. So having Joe Brady,
for sure. And I think with Dobbs, I was reading up, he's like the perfect mix of old school GM mixed with the analytics. Like he will look at like specific metrics to use to grade players, and I think that's why he's been successful. I'm all for a power struggle. Get Ed Dobbs. If you're Tepper, I don't care. Screw it. You got to get this man.
Samir Suleiman's title says Director of Player Negotiations and Salary Cap Manager. So when we talk about why haven't we signed Moten, maybe he needs some more smoke.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Samir Suleiman.
I'm not going.
Well, Suleiman, who knows? Maybe he was advocating for it, and Hurney just didn't do it because Hurney was like, "Let's wait till the end of the season."
Y'all heard that voicemail he left.
Hurney
said
he was
not talk smack.
But it seems like what I'm saying is though, KB, is that Hurney's job seemed more like the scouting, like more of like the director of like the scouting, for the college combine stuff, and they kind of brought this guy in to do the player contracts because that was where Hurney wasn't very good at, and Tep say he needs help.
But they paid
brought people in. So
Yeah,
Well,
you're paying McCaffrey, so
Hey, McCaffrey was totally different, bro. Like McCaffrey.
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing something out there. Just throwing something out there. Maybe he
No,
needs
no,
something.
no. I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying. But with COVID and everything too, that is something we have to consider. You know, the salary cap is going down. It is still kind of up in the air where the way everything's going to look and what the market's going to dictate. So the free agent
Can you
market.
put
So
Slim's comment up?
there's a lot of factors.
I think they
Can you
lowballed.
put Slim's comment up about front offices and creating jobs?
I think they lowballed Melton like they did Josh Norman at the end of year 3, and
All
Melton was
right, he's 100% correct about this. I think going forward, we should have an assistant GM position, and so we're not in this position again. About we lost a GM now, our front office is kind of shambles. Like we have a successor in grooming if you want to bring somebody from inside. But obviously, if the GM is failing, then you're going to probably hire outside. But if it's a successful GM or whatever who ends up leaving for whatever reason, I don't know. I'm just saying, I think we need an assistant GM, and we've seen the Lions utilize some role of special assistant to the owner, which is what Hurney should have been promoted to hire Andrew Berry as the GM. Slim's 100% correct about that point. We got to do a better job of just fluffing the titles and getting the people we want in.
Yeah, our front office is so backwards. If you compare our front office and you pull up the Eagles or the Colts and you see how many people we have hired compared to them, they're so ahead of the curve. So we need multiple roles. Sorry, go ahead.
And what happens to the guy we pulled from the Eagles anyway? What's his name? Is Pat
Stewart.
Pat Stewart.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. You haven't heard any talks with him. He didn't get an interview. Haven't seen anything. I think he's VP of operations,
Director of player personnel.
Yeah, is he okay? Player personnel. So he could technically keep that role. I think he's pretty solid. But I don't know why we haven't. I mean, if you talk about continuity, I mean, shit. Why not just promote him and call it a day? You guys been working together for a year.
Pretty much. That's where I'm and that's the crazy thing, right? We out here interviewing every freaking GM in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna have Rule's gonna have a say in the situation. Rule's gonna help pick this person. You want to have somebody that works with Rule, why don't you just grab somebody from the inside and let Rule fall on his ass if he sucks? And then Rule can't blame another GM if he fails.
I think that's the only positive. The only positive for getting somebody that he knows and keeping that continuity is that, hey, there's no excuses at this point. You got everything you need. And listen, if it's not working out by year 3, 4, bro, you got to go. But I think you're just wasting time at that point. You got to get the right guy in now. Don't waste, because you don't know who's going to be available. You don't know what GM prospects are going to be available next year. Why not go ahead and get a guy like Dobbs right now? Lock that he's going to be a good GM. Lock him in. And if Rule can't work with that, then he ain't the right coach. You go out and get another coach that's going to do the job. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and
I agree.
Manager, I was like, Tepper knows you don't put, you put all your eggs in one basket, and then if you're losing in a situation, you don't be like, oh, let me double down on it and keep going. It's gonna come back up. No, you.
Well, nah. Well, the thing is, some hedge fund managers, they'll do that. Sometimes they got a good inkling about a guy. If somebody looks like him and smells like him and talks like him, and you could just double down and let him run the show until he fails on his ass, and then Tepper will come back apologizing to the fan base that he failed if it happens. I hope it doesn't happen. It just doesn't look good at this point.
It's gonna be interesting, but
it's gonna be interesting
because we haven't heard any news about the interview with Ed Dodds being over. Haven't heard anything about news about it. So
I've heard about some other interviews that went really well.
Yeah.
We had.
Went well.
Joe Brady.
All right,
with the Texans.
Oh, go ahead, bro.
They said he aced the interview. And then guess who the Texans didn't interview?
Who?
They didn't interview Eric Bieniemy.
But I don't know, man. It's a lot of back and forth about that today. I want every enemy to get an opportunity. You know,
Dog, if he goes to Atlanta, I'm gonna cry. I'm just gonna let y'all know that shit right now. If he goes to Atlanta, I'm going to cry.
You should.
Would y'all trade for Deshaun?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Watson?
Yes. Yes.
How much would you give up? How much would you give up for Deshaun?
I'll give up 3 years of second round picks. And
I don't even. But the thing is, I don't even think you have to give that much up. I don't think you have to give up this year's first to get him, because that man's already. No, you won't. I don't think.
Have to demand. Deshaun would have to demand to get out of Houston. Like he would have.
Don't
to
worry.
Have like he would have to. He would have to bitch and complain up a bloody storm for them to settle for anything less than 2 first-round picks.
Yes.
Well, they don't have a first-round pick, right?
They don't. They don't have a second round pick this year, I don't think.
And so
they don't.
They need talent bad. If you offer them a first and a second and a player, man,
I'd do it.
I would do next year's first round. I would do this year's second, this year's third, next year's first.
You're gonna need.
That way we keep our first round.
He's gonna want. But the thing is, if y'all talking about how much.
You gotta give up
this year's second and this year's third.
We got to take that, but the problem is we got to take that contract on, right? Didn't he just sign a big deal?
Yeah,
it's worth it.
You got to take that mega deal. So that means you're gonna have to trade. You're gonna have to trade McCaffrey away to get the money to cover it.
Take it, please.
Yeah,
Take him.
do it, please.
But they just traded. They just traded for David Johnson. Like, what are we doing?
Hey, you let them.
So gotta have double trouble in Houston. Let them have it.
Hey, so listen. This is Deshaun's contract. It's not that bad. Next year's cap hit is only $15 million. So his cap hit is lower than Teddy's next year.
This clown.
The year after that. The year after that is tough. The year after that, it's $40,000.
Hey, but check
But
out.
we're gonna. Excuse me, $40 million. $40 million. Excuse me, $40 million.
Boy, we over here.
My bad. 2023 is $40 million too. So yeah, after it gets worse, but at the same time, you got to look at our cap situation in 2022. It's gonna be much different. We're gonna be we're gonna have tons of cap space.
I would love Deshaun. I would love to trade the
Yo, my man talking about rules trash. I'm saying rules trash. He's gonna bring us back to promise. All I'm gonna say is this, man. He's the first coach to not improve his wins after taking over the team in Panthers history.
Yep.
So, I mean, now granted, this might be the rule path. You know, typically Rule doesn't do things too well the first year. And then he picks it up by year 3, he's going to have a winning record. Okay. You know, we'll see how it goes. I'm just saying right now, he ain't improved on his win total. and we don't have a GM.
He is the GM for right now.
Yeah, he is the GM right now. We'll see how it goes.
All right. So, is there any other comments? Any final thoughts on it? We'll go.
When do you expect a GM to be signed?
I was gonna say that. Ask that same.
About a week.
I would say Friday. I would say by Friday, man. All the interviews should be wrapping up here, man.
Do you think they bring?
Maybe tomorrow.
They bring a couple people back for second interviews just to double check.
Yeah, because Rule's got to be comfortable with him.
God, bro.
F that. You got to make your decision, bro.
Well, they got to hurry up because people are going off the market. Like, Nick Caserio getting off was the greatest things. I think Tepper wanted that guy, man. I really do.
Yeah.
He did.
I think Tepper wanted him. And I think that's going to force his hand to make a decision fast. So I wouldn't be shocked if it's done by the end of the week.
That's why Houston hired him so quick.
Yeah. He knew. He saw what happened the last time.
Yep.
That's why Houston hired him so quick. So I think Tepper, after losing his guy, I think if he likes Dobbs or Peters or whoever's already interviewed, I think we could find out by tomorrow. I might be wrong, but I think we can find out by tomorrow.
That'd be awesome.
Who's already interviewed?
It would be great.
Everybody.
Dobbs interviewed today, and I think
Schoen.
So we interviewed Kwesi, Caserio, Ireland, Monty, Jerry Reese, Joe Shane.
Dobbs.
I think we got we got Dobbs today.
Today.
5. So that's 7 total. The only ones we haven't seen yet is Champ. We haven't gotten Kelly. We haven't gotten Poles and the other Chiefs guy. So the 2 Chiefs guys and Champ.
I did hear that.
I think
Joe Shane had a good interview.
Yes.
But, hey,
because he knew everything.
Cool on Shane,
he was like, I know everything about
right.
DOA, and
Yeah, exactly.
Be there, blah 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 blah. Of course, he had a great interview.
That man diverted. He was like, "Hey man, you remember? You know how when you're doing bad in the interview, you just want to talk about something that you can relate to. You just be like, man, you remember in the ticket office, it was dope. You wasted 30 minutes of your interview.
Yeah, is Miss Francine there?
We got 4 tomorrow.
Four tomorrow, Miss Francine.
4 tomorrow. This is according to Cat Scratcher. So Dobbs, Poles, Tillis, and Peters. So yeah, I think by what's tomorrow? Wednesday? By Thursday? Yeah, Friday. So yeah, it'll be wrapped up this week.
Hey,
so you saying all those interviews are tomorrow?
That's what according to them. Yeah.
Dobbs was today.
Wednesday.
Dobbs
got a second interview already. Hey, I'm down for it, man.
For real?
Dobbs already got a second interview?
Okay, they must have moved Dobbs up to Tuesday then.
Hold on, say that.
Yeah, I thought Dobbs was today.
Yeah, Dobbs was
saying they must have moved Dobbs. This was written. Let me see. It's written at 6, so they must have just put it on here wrong or something.
Oh wow.
I don't know, but I will say that when did Shane interview? Today, right?
Yesterday, I think.
On here it says Tuesday. On here it says Tuesday, so today. Or what's today?
Today's Wednesday.
Today's Wednesday. Okay,
Yesterday.
so that makes sense then. That makes sense because he doesn't have a card on the Panthers website. 6 guys got cards on the website, so I'm assuming those were all done yesterday. So.
All right, excuse me. I read it wrong. Those 4 people were today. It was Wednesday. That's what. My fault.
Gotcha.
My bad.
So the interviews are done. So we should know tomorrow.
Hey, all I'm gonna say is
by Friday,
Ed Dodds, let's get this power struggle on.
Yeah, I'm down for Dodds, man. I'm hoping we get it right, man.
I want Dodds and Poles.
And listen, if I tell y'all right now, if we hire Ed Dodds, I'm doing a massive giveaway. I'm telling y'all that right now. Giveaways on deck if we hire Ed Dodds. Mark my word. Book it. I'm probably gonna do them anyway, but just for fun,
it'd be nice to look forward to a draft pick after round 1.
Yeah.
Facts. Well, we did this year.
Well, we had a good draft this year, man.
Yeah.
Okay, that's like an outlier.
It's crazy that Hurney's one of Hurney's best drafts happened in the year that they fired him.
Yeah.
Same like before when he got fired. He had just drafted Luke Kuechly, and I don't know who else he drafted after that. But I mean, yes, it'd be nice. I would like to not draft Rashawn Golden, who should have gone in the 6th round and the 3rd round. So.
Do y'all know if interviews were virtual or did they fly all these guys in?
For sure, virtual.
I think they were virtual, man. I'm pretty sure they were virtual.
That might help. That might help because people like Joe Schoen can't walk around and be like, "Oh yeah, I remember when I was, I used to work here." So
yeah,
strictly football.
He probably still did it though. He still did that.
Oh,
but all right. Oh, go ahead.
Appreciate it. No.
Oh no. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap this thing up, man. I'm trying to be here all night. Listen, man, this was fun. Good times. I think we went through the candidates pretty well. Nice and thorough. Everybody dipped on me. Wow. All right. So I was gonna say shout out there, but shout out to Eddie, Noli, J Simp, all them for coming through. JJ, KB, y'all got any final words?
Nah, man. I actually appreciate it. Being invited to come on tonight. I learned a lot tonight. There was some of the candidates that I haven't delved that deep into. I'm looking forward, man. I mean, a lot of people have been caught up in, who's the quarterback going to be in 2021 and this and that. But to me, this is the most important acquisition of the offseason because this is going to set, the table for what Panthers football is going to be for the next decade or 2 or 3. And so if you get the right guy, with the right mentality, who knows how to build. That's why y'all got me excited on Ed Dodds. And honestly, I probably learned more about him tonight than anybody in the guy posed from Kansas City. So I like learning, man. I tweet a lot, say a lot, but I don't know everything. So, y'all guys having this forum, is a good opportunity for me and, hopefully for other fans who are tuned in to learn about who the potential candidates are. And I just hope that one of the ones that we believe, would do the most for us is one of the ones they select, and if they don't select one of the ones that we like, I hope they have, really good reason for why they went that way and we can see it early on. You know what I mean?
Facts. Yeah, I agree. KB, you got anything?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on tonight. Really appreciate it. Love the discussion with everybody. This is a lot of fun. I think we turned GM talk and GM free agency into something pretty interesting. So I enjoyed it, man. I look forward to see who we get. I like Matt Rule. I think Matt Rule's done a good job. He's kept us competitive all year through ups and downs. So, 5 wins is what it is. But I look forward to seeing what Tep and Matt Rule come up with the GM. Man, this is my favorite time of the season. Like we're almost there. About March, about late February, March, after all the bowls, the senior bowls, and the when does free agency start? When is that?
March the 15th or something like that, somewhere around the middle.
Okay. So February should be all like the combines and stuff like that. February, March, and then March free agency opens, and then we got the draft in April. So, yeah, man, we're getting closer. It's gonna be fun. So I appreciate the talk. Look forward to the next one.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. Listen, this is what we do, man. We try to offer up some content that not too many other channels are doing. Everybody else is focusing on quarterbacks and all this other stuff, and that's all cool. But I think the most important, like JJ said, the most important thing right now is who this GM is, man. Who cares who the coordinators are going to be? Nobody cares about it. This is the most important and pivotal decision that David Tepper has to make. And listen, the first one, I think Matt Rule is doing okay, given the circumstances. He's doing a decent job, but we can't mess this one up, or it's going to go left really bad. So I'm looking forward to it. And again, Drew, I appreciate that comment, man. Because listen, what we try to do is we try to do stuff a little different from what everybody else is doing. So hopefully,
we are analytical.
Yeah, a little bit.
They should just hire us.
They should, man.
They should just hire us.
I could have told him that Joe Brady was going to do exactly what he's doing right now a year ago. But go ahead, JJ.
I will say this about your podcast, man, and because I'm on Twitter a lot, and I see what a lot of other people do, and I go live every once in a while, with my homeboy Bobby Rasco, and but I will say this about about this show is that you guys are always with the facts. You keep it level, is level-headed. I appreciate that. I hope you guys continue to grow, on Twitter and wherever other platform you're on, because it's really good content. And, that's why I wanted to come back, because I knew what I experienced the first time. I like the organization of it. And, just keep doing what you're doing, man. I'm going to try to, pump you guys up as much as I can, because I think you guys do a really good job.
Appreciate it, man.
I shared the salary cap video today on a Panther forum. Guys on there talking about we need to sign Moton and Samuels, and we need to do this and this and this. And I'm like, bro, it just won't work out. And they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, bro, I've seen the numbers. My boy broke it all down in like 2 hours. Here's the vid. Yeah. And everybody was like, oh my God. So.
Yeah, man, that's what we try to do, man. Because I think it's important, man. Like, people don't understand, and that's what we're trying to elevate your fandom a little bit. Listen, I'm not perfect. I predicted that KB was gonna have 1,300 yards.
1,200 yards.
1,200 yards.
We'll be fair to you.
I be off sometimes, but listen, at the end of the day, I want the Panthers to be, do a good job, and I try to, like JJ said, we try to keep it even. We try not to go too left. Or too crazy or too, we try not to, we try to keep it even and fair and on the right path, and just keep it real, man. I mean, it's no point.
No clickbait here.
No clickbait. Exactly. We know how I feel about that. There ain't no clickbait on these parts. But we just try to keep it, keep it even. We trying to learn together, man. Expose you to different things as far as salary cap and analytics and things like that, just to show you how a team should be built and how it should be ran. Like, listen, they need to just pick up the phone and call me, man. I got it. I could be the right hand analytic man. I could do that. They just got to pick up the phone and call me.
We would be much cheaper than all these other folk, one of the other cats are playing.
Hey, you know
what?
I
take half the money.
You'll be cheap for like the first year, and then you start feeling yourself like, look,
right?
I mean, we'll be cheap, but we're gonna be paid a decent salary. You know what I'm saying? I might ask for security or something like that, and we'll get paid decent.
But but the thing is, man, like what you guys and what I'm gonna push you as, I'm gonna have to make myself remember to do it. One thing that I wanted to do with my platform, even, is educate people on what you said, not just on how certain positions impact, the football team or whatever, because I think we get too caught up in that. But how the full operation, of a team goes, and you went into salary cap last time. This time is about the GM. The different position groups when we went through the salary cap and what they mean. Like that's important. I want fans to be elevated in thinking about like how all phases of football matters and how that translates to wins. They just look at a team like Kansas City and think like, oh my God, Patrick Mahomes is so great, and that's why they're going to win all these championships. No, Patrick Mahomes he's a great player, and he's an MVP level player, but they have a great offensive line. They went out and got better on defense. When you look at how much their defense improved from 2018 until now, people don't pay attention to that. They get stops, they get turnovers. Like they're very opportunistic. Everything matters, and so what you guys do in that way, I think if people tune in, man, they can learn a lot about football, especially as it relates to the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, so we growing. It's coming up a lot. We're starting to get a lot of fans from other teams because of the draft videos. We do draft videos on all the prospects, a good portion of the prospects, not all the prospects. So I do like film reaction videos and things like that. So we're getting a lot of we're growing a little bit. We're getting close to 4,000. We're trying to push the 4,000 subscribers before the draft. That would be great. That's a goal of ours. So man, everybody hit the like button and share it, man, and just get us exposed. We got a lot of people doing some wild things out there, making wild videos and making outlandish things, man. That's cool. But it's where's the substance? You know what I'm saying? So that's all I'm saying.
It's a lot of trying to be different, and not necessarily a good way. There's a lot of hot takes in Panthers Twitter, and that's great. Everybody has their own swim lane, but you stay in your lane because so far this has been the most unique, and which is crazy because of how informational it is. It should be like the standard, but you are unique by being, level-headed and just stay right there, because that's a good place to be. And when people catch on to that, I think it'll be, even better. So, after we get done, man, drop the link. I'm gonna share it, wherever I'm at, on social media and see if people just, jump on and check it out, But yeah, man, it's dope. Love what y'all do.
Real quick, and I want to shout out because we wouldn't be where we are, if it wasn't for the support of our chat cats, man. We got a group me, them dudes. Shout out to Slim, shout out to Jared, shout out to Noli. They were in here. Shout out to J Simp. All them cats, man, because they helped me out we signed such and such. You got to do this. They be on it, man. So shout out to them. It would not be. I'm telling you, man, we was trash before we had the chat cats. So shout out to them cats, man, for real.
Man, it takes a village, bro. It takes a village.
For real, man.
It always takes a village.
For real, man. Fact. Shout out to Jared too. All of them. Slim, Jared, Noli, and I'm Perth. Shout out to Perth, Alex, all y'all, man. My bad if I'm forgetting y'all. All y'all dudes, man. Y'all good people. So. Shout out to all y'all. Miko too, man. Miko's my man. He's in the chat too, man. My fault. I don't want to forget nobody.
Yeah, I don't know all the brothers that you just mentioned, man. But y'all are dope, man. I know Jared. I believe. I think I know him. And I know he cool like that. So yeah, man. Y'all keep doing what y'all do. Y'all keep building this thing, man. I like it.
Appreciate it, man.
As best as I can. I don't have that much influence, but I like positivity, and so y'all are definitely that.
Yeah, man. Appreciate that. So we're gonna get up out of here, man. We got coming up just a couple things I got coming up. I got my top 10. I got my top 10 prospects for each position coming up in the draft. I got those rankings done. I'm going to drop those videos probably pretty soon. I still got some more prospects to do. Individual video, film reaction videos. Those are still coming.
Are we going to do the national championship game got pushed back, right? So are we going?
Yeah, we will probably live stream during the national championship game. That's going to happen. We do that every year. And we also do a draft party too. So if JJ, I don't know what you do on the draft, but we also, go live during the draft. It's awesome. It's super fun.
Just send me the link, bro. I mean, I usually sit in front of my couch and and just veg out, while waiting on my pick. And so I don't do anything special. So if y'all doing something like that, I'd love to be part of it.
Yeah, we're gonna do something similar to this. Probably a big round table. It's gonna be fun. Those joints are always fun. So yeah, man. That's pretty much it. That's all I got, man. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and all that, and we'll catch y'all in the next one. All right, peace out.
All right, see you, Panther Nation.